Hello everyone. So in this video, we'll be discussing about the Azure Synapse Analytics, which was known as Azure SQL Data Warehouse earlier. But right now, the new service which is available in the Azure is known as Azure Synapse Analytics. So we'll see in the today's video what's the difference, what are the different features which are available in Azure Synapse Analytics, and how we can create a Azure workspace, Azure Synapse workspace, and then also we'll see what are the different options or what are the different features which are available on the Azure Synapse Workspace Studio. Okay, so these are the agenda for the today's video. First of all, the Azure Synapse Analytics, as I told, so it was known as Azure SQL Data Warehouse earlier, but right now there are many different capabilities which Azure has added in this Synapse Analytics. So in the Synapse Analytics, you can do a lot instead, not just the SQL data warehousing in the Synapse Analytics. So you can say it's the combination of the big data analytics and the enterprise data warehousing. So when I say enterprise data warehousing, so you can do the data preparation, you can do data engineering pipeline you can build, or also like you can create any kind of machine learning model, or you can do also data science related activities. So data cleaning, data preparation, data pre-processing. So everything you can do right now in the Synapse. Okay. So these are all the different capabilities which are available in Synapse. And another nice feature about the Synapse is, though all these capabilities are available in the Synapse, but whenever you will create a Synapse workspace account, okay, so you are going to pay only for the services, only for the service uh, in use. So whatever the service you are going to use, you are only going to pay for that. For example, whenever we'll create a Synapse Workspace account, so Synapse Workspace account along with the Synapse Workspace account, the serverless SQL pool. Okay. So I'll tell you what is this serverless SQL pool. But for now, just understand. So in this along with the Synapse account, one serverless SQL pool will be created. Okay. So whenever you will create a Synapse account, so you are going to pay only for this SQL pool, only for the usage of this SQL pool. Okay. Though all these services, whatever the services you are seeing, like for machine learning, for data reporting, all those services, all those features are available in Synapse. But whatever the services you are going to use, so you are going to pay only for that service. Okay. So that's the feature of the Synapse. And so in Synapse, there are broadly there are two types of compute environment. Okay, so there are two types of compute environment which are available in Synapse. One is your SQL pool. Another one is your Spark pool. Okay, so in case of SQL pool, you can write some SQL script. Okay, so if you want to write any SQL script, let's say there are some data in the data lake Gen 2. Okay, you can query this data by writing some SQL script. We'll see that in our coming videos. So in case of Spark pool also, you can create the also you can write some Spark script. Okay, any Spark job you can write using the Spark script. Okay. So these are the two compute environment which are available in Synapse. Okay. So as I told, so Synapse is a according to Microsoft, the actual definition of Synapse is it's a limitless service. Okay, it's a limitless analytics service. Okay. So because of this all these features, like you have the serverless, you have the dedicated SQL pool, so all these features which are available, so that is why we are calling it a limitless analytics service. And in Synapse, you can do all the big data analytics, you can do data preparation, you can do data integration, You can also do enterprise data warehousing. So because of this, so Synapse nowadays it will become very popular. Okay, so actually we'll if you will see what's the difference. So same thing I have put on this slide. If you'll see, Synapse it's known as SQL data warehouse, and it's a combination of enterprise data warehouse and then the big data analytics. And there are two compute environment which are available in Synapse. So one is SQL pool, another one is Spark pool. Okay, so if you'll see the Synapse architecture, so once you'll create a Synapse workspace, you'll get one Synapse Studio. We'll see that, and then so in using that Synapse Studio, you can do data integration. You can manage your resources. You can monitor your resources. Also, you can enable any kind of security feature on all those resources. Okay, so these are all options which are available. Synapse Analytics runtime. So as I told, you can write SQL script on SQL pool. So there are two SQL pools which are available. One is serverless, another one is dedicated SQL pool. Serverless will be managed by Azure. You can just use that. Whereas in case of dedicated SQL pool, you can create, you can scale up, scale down. You can play with that. Another one is Spark SQL pool. Sorry, Spark pool. In case of Spark pool, you can write some Spark jobs. Then there is Data Explorer. So for Data Explorer, so there is a different language which is available. For SQL pool, you will be using TSQL. In case of Data Explorer, you will be using KQL. So which is known as push to query language. Okay, and then as you can say, you can ingest the data from all of these data sources. You can ingest data from on-premises, cloud, any streaming data also you can ingest into the Synapse Studio. And then you can also integrate Synapse Studio with Power BI, with Azure Machine Learning, and the Azure Purview. Okay, so that is so you can see the for the storage purposes we have this Azure Data Lake Gen 2, so which will be used to store the catalog or metadata information for this Azure Synapse workspace. So whenever you will create a Synapse workspace, uh, so whenever you will create a Synapse workspace account, along with that, so it will first of all it will ask you to create resource group. Okay, we all know what is resource group, I guess, in Azure. So whatever the resources you want to manage together, you can put them inside one resource group. Okay, so Synapse will ask you to create two resource group. One will be managed by you. Okay, another one will be managed by Synapse. Okay, and this is the resource group which will be managed by Synapse. So it will be known as managed resource group. Okay, so what will happen? So whenever you will create Synapse, along with the Synapse, as I told, one serverless SQL pool will be created. Okay, and also one data lake ADLS account Gen2 account will be created. Okay, and then you'll be having the Synapse Studio. So these three resources you'll be seeing. For this serverless SQL pool, as I told, you cannot manage anything. Okay, so everything will be managed by Azure. So for this serverless SQL pool, Synapse is creating this managed resource group. Okay, and Synapse is giving you option. So this is not mandatory field. You will be seeing while creating the Synapse workspace account. So the Synapse is giving you option like if you want to choose the resource group name, you can do that. Okay. Other than that, so this is the mandatory resource group which you have to enter while creating Synapse workspace account. And then the ADLS Gen 2, and then ADLS Gen 2 will be creating to manage the metadata information or catalog data information. Okay, for the Synapse workspace account. Okay, for this Synapse Studio. Okay, so let's compare what was the data warehousing solution earlier and now why it has changed to Synapse. Why Synapse? Why people are going towards Synapse or people are using Synapse? So if you see in the Azure, there are many services which are already available. Okay, so many services we can use. So for example, if you will see for the data integration, for the data integration, we have something called ADF. ADF is known as Azure Data Factory, so that you can ingest the data from different sources to ADF, okay, and you can integrate all of those sources, whether it's on premises or any sources. In ADF, you can see, I think 90 plus or 100 plus connectors which are available. You can integrate with any of the sources, okay. Then after ADF, for the data processing, okay, let's say for the data processing, we have data flow, which is available in ADF, okay, and also we have data bricks. We have data bricks, and then we have also SQL data warehouse, where you can write some stored procedure and we can do the data processing, right? So all these options which are available, again, these are all individual resources. Then after that, also you can integrate SQL data warehouse with Power BI if you want to create any kind of dashboard or report. For storage also, we have the ADLS Gen 2, which is another service. These are all different services. But so this is one data warehousing solution. Okay, there's a data warehousing solution one. So if you'll see, these are all individual services. Okay, if you want to scale up or scale down any of the services, you'll have to go to that service, and then you have to manage them, okay, individually. So it will be difficult also if you want to create any kind of metrics how those services are performing. So if you have to monitor it, then also it will be difficult, because these are all individual services and you have to do the monitoring for each of these services. Okay, so all of due to this management and security overhead, and there is also no serverless option as well. So there was no serverless option. Another thing, if you create some databricks table, so in the databricks you can create some table, okay, databricks table. You will not be able to access the databricks table in case of SQL data warehouse. Okay, so those are the limitations which was there in this data warehousing solution. So that is why we are moving towards the Synapse, or we are using Synapse. In Synapse, if you will see, same thing we have, okay, for data integration. For data integration, if you want to integrate the data from multiple sources, you have something called Synapse pipeline. And then for the data compute, you have Synapse data flows. So if you know data factory data flows, you don't need to know. You don't need to study Synapse separately. You can work with Synapse. Okay, and then we have Spark pool. If you want to do any kind of big data processing, we have Spark pool. Then we have SQL pool, like that is dedicated SQL pool, which will be managed by you, and then there is serverless SQL pool, right? We have also the ADLS Gen 2, and then you can integrate this with Power BI, right? So all these services will be available inside one workspace. So if you create one workspace, you'll be able to access all these services, right? So if you want to scale up and scale down, you just can do that at the workspace level. Okay. So you don't need to manage each and every resources. So you can do the scale up and scale down if you want to do the monitoring of you. If you want to enable any kind of security feature, for example, the enabling any kind of private IP or creating any, whether giving any public access, so you can do on the workspace level. You don't need to do at the resource level or individual resource service level. Okay, so that way we can overcome the management and security overhead which was there in the earlier data warehousing solution, right? So that is why people like Synapse, and they are using Synapse. Okay, so that's the difference between the Synapse and the modern data warehousing solution, or the data warehousing solution which was there before Synapse came. And then if you'll see what who all are the competitor of the Synapse. So Synapse is a data warehousing solution which is available in Azure. We have BigQuery. Okay, I have another playlist for GCP. You can watch that. So we have a BigQuery which is available in GCP. Then we have a Redshift which is available in AWS, and then we have Snowflake, okay, which is also very popular in the market. So we have also Snowflake. So these are all competitor of Synapse, you can say. So, but let's stick to the Synapse discussion in this video. So let's create a Synapse Workspace account. So in order to create a Synapse Workspace account, you'll have to go to the Synapse. You have to go to the Azure portal. Okay. So if you'll see here, this is my Azure portal. So in order to create, I have already created Synapse Workspace account, but let's see what are the options which are there, which you can use to create a Synapse Workspace account. So if you'll see here, search for Synapse Workspace, Azure Synapse, you will get this ASA service in Azure Synapse Analytics service. So go to that page and then click on create. Then you will come to this page. So once you come to this page, on the top you will be seeing 5 tabs. One is basic, security, networking, tax, and then review and create. So in the basic tab, you will have to specify some basic information. So first one is to select the subscription. So subscription, I am using a free trial subscription. Okay, so if you have any other subscription on your Azure portal, you can select that. After the subscription, then you have to select the resource group. So in the resource group, as I was telling, there will be 2 resource group. One is managed resource group, another one is resource group. Managed resource group will be managing the SQL server, serverless SQL pool, which will be created along with this Synapse Workspace account, and then resource group is there. So resource group, you can select any of the existing resource group. I will be selecting this resource group which I have already created. If you have not created any resource group and if you have gone to Synapse Workspace directly, you can also create a new resource group from here, right? Then the managed resource group. So managed resource group, Synapse is asking, it's the optional field. If you don't want to choose, Synapse will by default create one managed resource group. But if you want to give some meaningful name, you can obviously give managed resource. Okay. Then next one is the workspace name. So workspace name should be unique. Okay. So whenever you are choosing any workspace name, it should be unique. So Synapse Workspace 423. Okay. So it's asking you to give a Synapse Workspace name. Then next one is the region. Okay. So you can choose any of the region from this option, but it's better to choose the region where your actual data is present. Okay. Or any region which is close to you or to your client. Okay. So that whenever you will read and write your data, so the latency will be lower. Okay. So that's the region you can choose, the region which is close to you or to your data center. So I'll go with the East US because I'm not going to create this Synapse account because I already have created. Then next one is the account name, data lake Gen2 account name. So as I was telling, in order to store the metadata information or the catalog data information for this Synapse workspace which you are creating, you will have to create one Azure data lake Gen2 account. Okay. If you have already created, you can choose that from this option, or else you can click on create new, you can create a new account. Similarly, for that Gen2 account, you will have to create a container or a file system where you can store your data. Okay, so you can store the data. Similarly, you can give a container name, a file system name. If you don't have, you can click on create new, and you can create a new file system. Another thing is, so whenever you will create this Azure Data Lake Gen 2 account, by default, Azure will provide the storage blob contributed access to this storage account. Okay, so that they can store the metadata information and the catalog data information in this storage account. So by default, this container, this data lake Gen 2 will be having the contributed access, blob data contributed access. Okay, so these are the fields which you need to specify, you need to put on the basic tab, and next go to the security tab. In security tab, you can see some options. So this one is the SQL Server admin login. So which is for the serverless SQL pool, the admin ID. And then for that also you can specify some password. Okay. So for in order to log into the serverless SQL pool, you can specify the password. And then so you can, like, in the encryption technique is there, whether you want to go with the customer managed or you want to go with the Azure managed. I will go with the Azure managed, so I have disabled the customer managed encryption technique. Let's go to the networking. In case of the networking, if you it's related to virtual network, firewall, or encryption technique. If you want to apply, you can change the option here. So here I am giving the public access, and so I'm not enabling any private IP. I'm not giving access to any particular IP. So I'm giving the public access. So I'll not change any of the options on this page. Next is the tag. So on the tag, so if you want to manage you can put some name and value. So for example, if you have any, if you are creating this Synapse workspace for a particular department, so you can put that department name here. Okay, so that is just to maintain the metadata information of this Synapse workspace account we are putting here. It's not it is also not mandatory. Then you can go to review and create. So once you come here, it will validate whatever the options or whatever the values you have put on those fields. So once the validation is successful, you can create, you can click on create, and your Synapse workspace account will be created. As you can see, in the workspace, everything will be available. So for example, the Power BI, the machine learning, for machine learning also the features will be available. Also for the Power BI for data reporting, all those features will be available, but Synapse will charge you only for the services which you are going to use. And so when you are creating the Synapse Workspace account, this by default, this serverless SQL pool will be created. So that's why it's showing you, it's going to charge you 360 INR per TB of the data you are going to use. So per TB of the data you are going to use on this serverless SQL pool, it's going to charge you for that. Okay, it's not going to charge you anything for the storage. Okay, so sorry, for the storage also it will charge you the SQL serverless SQL pool. And next one is the download template automation. So in the download template automation, so what will happen? If you want to automate the creation of this workspace account, you can click on this download template automation. Sorry, download template only for the automation. To automate the creation of this workspace account, you can create a template of this. Okay, so it will having all the fields, all the values which you have put on these options. Okay, I'll cancel this because I have already created the Synapse workspace account which is available. So I will not uh, uh, create the Synapse workspace again. Okay. So once you have created the Synapse workspace account, you can go to your resource group. So there you will be seeing two resource group. One is the resource group which you have created. Another one is the managed resource group. If you'll go to go inside the managed resource group, so inside the manage resource group, Inside the managed resource group, you can see there are multiple options which are available. Also, you can see, so as I was telling, if the SQL serverless SQL pool will be available inside the managed resource group. Okay. So you can see the once you click on this delete resource group, you'll be able to see what are the resources which are available inside this resource group, and you can see there is SQL server and then the database which is available. Okay, so this is the managed resource group for the serverless SQL pool. And now next, if you're, let's go to the other resource group which is available, and there you will be able to see the Synapse Workspace account name. From there, you can go to your Synapse Studio. So there are two ways you can go to your Synapse Studio. You can access your Synapse Studio. So that is a direct URL. You can see web.azuresynapse.net. If you go to here, it will ask you for authentication and for sign in. Once that is successful, then you will be able to enter inside the Synapse Studio. Or else you can come to Azure portal. From there, you can go to your Synapse Workspace account, and then you can go to, so there is one option here. You'll see the Open Studio option. You can open your studio, open your Synapse Studio. But on this Synapse Workspace page, if you'll see, there are many options which are available on the top. So these are all the shortcuts. If you want to create a dedicated SQL pool or Spark SQL pool or Data Explorer, you can do that from here. Or else, if you want to reset the SQL admin, so that also you can do. Then there are